So in the year 1976, I started my educational career here at Central Elementary. And December of that year, I'm not exactly sure why, but we had an early release one day, and for whatever reason, the buses weren't running. We got out at noon, and we all had to make arrangements for our families to pick us up that day. And like everyone else, I got my things together, came out front of the building here, and waited for my dad, who was the only driver in our home, waited for my dad to pick me up. And I was forgotten. I sat there and watched all of my classmates leave and get picked up by their families, excited for an extra afternoon of fun outside in the winter, and watched my teacher leave, watched all of the other teachers leave, and eventually watched the principal and the secretary in the office behind me here leave after that. I would guess I was probably here at least an hour after we were released that day, and as each of those people walked by, I became more and more sad, realizing that I had been forgotten. So I decided after about an hour I was going to walk home. I knew that living about 2 miles away, it'd be about an hour walk, 1 mile to get to the edge of town, another mile out of town to get to where I lived, and realized that my dad truly was not going to be coming to pick me up. As the people walked by me, each of them asked, "Do you have a ride coming? Do you have someone coming to pick you up?" And to each of them I answered, yes. I was too embarrassed to say no, someone had forgotten me. So at that point I took matters into my own hands and decided I was going to walk home. And it wasn't until I actually stood up and started that walk that I started crying, realizing that I had been forgotten. Well, I got most of a mile away from here to the bridge on the north side of town, and here came my dad driving into town to pick me up. He had been in another drunken stupor and had forgotten me completely. And when he saw me, he pulled over, and oh, did I catch it that day. It was my fault that I had chosen to walk. It was my fault. I should have stayed where I was at. And what it made me feel like, it was my fault that I was insignificant, and my fault that I had been forgotten that day. Absolutely the worst feeling in the world. I remember sitting on this very spot that day like it was yesterday. Fast forward a bunch of years, about the time that my wife and I got married, I forget, we had been somewhere and had driven separately, and we were supposed to meet up at the laundromat near the apartment where we lived in Rochester, and we were going to be doing our laundry that afternoon together, and I forgot to go there. I went back to our apartment and sat down, watched TV, grabbed myself something to eat, and was having a great time. And after about an hour I realized, wait a minute, where's my wife? Where's Melanie? And didn't really think of anything of it for at least a few minutes, and then realized, wait a minute, it doesn't make sense that she's not here. Am I supposed to be doing something? And I realized I had forgotten her. So quickly got in my vehicle, drove to the laundromat, and she was just finishing up the laundry. And when I walked in, I realized she wasn't angry that I hadn't been there to do the laundry. What I realized was that she was upset that I had forgotten her. And in forgetting her, that took me back to what I remembered was absolutely the worst feeling in the world. The difference was I didn't blame her. I just remember apologizing over and over again and truly feeling sad that I had done that to another human being the way that had been done to me all those years before. So the reality is, we all forget things. We all forget to do things. We all sometimes forget people. My challenge for you today, though, is as forgetful as human beings have become because of everything that we have that distracts us, that, you know, it is sometimes okay to forget to do some things, but it really never is okay to forget someone. Again, the reality is that it's going to happen. My challenge is, if this happens to you, or when this happens to you, that you do take the time to apologize for it, and that you mean it, that you really are remorseful, that you don't just blow it off as, oh, it doesn't really matter, it's not a big deal, I'll make it up to you another time. but that you do truly feel remorse and feel sad, and do everything that you can to not let it happen again. Something to consider today. I wish you well. Talk to you soon.